The morning I signed my divorce papers, I sat in that lawyer's office and realized I had spent 32 years building a life with someone who had been lying to me the entire time. That was 3 years ago. I'm Rachel Foster, and at 58 years old, I found myself starting completely over in a city where I knew no one. Dallas, Texas. A place so big and sprawling that it was easy to disappear into the crowd, which was exactly what I needed. My ex-husband had cleaned out our savings before I even knew what was happening. By the time the divorce was final, I got the car and whatever was left in our checking account, which was enough to cover first month's rent and not much else. My daughter Emily was in Boston with her own family, busy with her career and 2 young kids. My son David lived in Oregon, still trying to find himself at 30. They called occasionally, mostly to check if I was okay, but we all knew the truth. I was alone. So I did what any desperate 58-year-old woman with a bad back and outdated computer skills would do. I got a job. Methodist Dallas Medical Center needed a part-time pharmacy technician for the evening shift. The hours were 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., Monday through Friday. The pay was $15 an hour, just enough to cover my tiny studio apartment in East Dallas and keep the lights on. The work was simple enough. I counted pills, labeled bottles, filed prescriptions, and tried to stay out of the way of the real pharmacists who actually knew what they were doing. Dr. Amanda Walsh was the head pharmacist, a sharp woman in her early 40s with perfect hair and an even more perfect smile. She ran that pharmacy like a well-oiled machine, and everyone respected her, including me. Every night at 10 p.m., I would finish my shift and walk through the main lobby to clock out. That's where I met Carlos Rodriguez. He worked the night security desk, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., sitting in his little station by the main entrance. He was 67 years old, with silver hair and warm brown eyes that crinkled when he smiled. He wore his security uniform with pride, his name badge always perfectly straight. The first time I really noticed him was during my second week. It was a cold October evening, and I was exhausted. As I walked past his desk, he looked up from his monitors and said, "Long day, ma'am?" I stopped. Most people in the hospital barely acknowledged the security guards. They were like furniture, part of the building itself. But something about the kindness in his voice made me pause. "Every day is long lately," I admitted. He nodded knowingly. "I understand that feeling. But you're still here. That counts for something." It was such a simple thing to say, but it meant more to me than he could have known. After that night, I made it a point to stop by his desk every evening before leaving. We started talking. Small conversations at first, just pleasantries about the weather or how busy the hospital had been, but gradually, we shared more. I learned that Carlos was a widower. His wife Teresa had died of cancer 2 years earlier, and he took the security job because sitting at home in their empty house was unbearable. Before retirement, he had been a police detective for 35 years with the Dallas Police Department. He had worked robbery, fraud, even homicide for a while. Now he watched monitors and checked badges, but he said it gave him purpose. Plus, he told me one evening with a gentle smile, "I get to meet interesting people. Like you, Miss Rachel." I started bringing him things. Nothing big, just small gestures. The vending machines near the cafeteria had decent coffee for $2, so every night around 10 p.m., I would buy 2 cups, black, and bring one to Carlos. It became our routine. 10 o'clock, coffee, conversation. Sometimes we talked for 5 minutes, sometimes 20, depending on how busy the hospital was. He told me about his cases, the ones that still kept him up at night. I told him about my marriage, about the betrayal, about starting over. We were 2 lonely people who had found something rare in this big, impersonal city, a genuine connection. "You remind me of Teresa," Carlos said one November evening as he sipped his coffee. "She was kind like you, always thinking of others, even when life wasn't fair to her." "I'm not that kind," I said. "It's just coffee." "Kindness is kindness, Miss Rachel. Doesn't matter if it's coffee or diamonds. It's the thought that counts." He paused, looking at me seriously. "Teresa used to say that small acts of goodness create ripples we can't always see. I believe that." This routine went on for months. Fall turned to winter, winter to spring. I got a small raise, 50 cents more per hour. Emily had her third baby, a girl. David finally got a steady job doing graphic design. Life moved forward in its slow, methodical way. The pharmacy was busy but manageable. Dr. Walsh was always professional, always efficient. She had a way of making everything seem under control. Sometimes I would see her staying late, working in her private office long after the rest of us had gone home. She worked harder than anyone I knew. Then came that Tuesday night in late March. I finished my shift as usual, grabbed my purse, and headed toward the lobby. As I approached the vending machines to get our coffee, I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned to find Carlos standing there, his face serious in a way I had never seen before. "Miss Rachel," he said quietly, "can you come with me to the security office? I need to show you something. And please, don't react, just act natural." My heart started pounding. "Carlos, what's wrong? Are you okay?" "I'm fine, but you might not be." He glanced around the lobby, checking to see if anyone was watching. "Please, just trust me." I followed him into the small security office behind his desk. It was cramped, filled with monitors showing different angles of the hospital. Carlos closed the door and locked it. "Carlos, you're scaring me." He pulled out a chair for me. "Sit down. What I'm about to show you, you need to stay calm." He turned to one of the monitors and started pulling up recorded footage. This is from 2 weeks ago, March 7th, 11:47 p.m. He pressed play. The footage showed the parking garage, level 3. Dr. Walsh's car was parked there. I watched as she walked to her car, but she wasn't alone. 2 men in suits were with her. They stood by her trunk, and one of them handed her a large manila envelope. She opened it, looked inside, nodded, and then opened her trunk. Inside were several boxes. The men took the boxes and loaded them into their own vehicle. "What is that?" I whispered. "Watch." Carlos fast-forwarded to another date. March 14th. Same time, same place. The same scene played out. Dr. Walsh, 2 men, an envelope, boxes from her trunk. And this is from last night. Carlos pulled up footage from March 21st. Same thing, but this time I could see the boxes more clearly. They were labeled with pharmaceutical company logos. My stomach dropped. "Those are medications." "Yes, ma'am. I believe your head pharmacist is stealing drugs from the hospital and selling them." I stared at the screen, my mind racing. But how? How would she even do that? There are inventory systems, controls. "She's the head pharmacist," Carlos said simply. "She has access to everything. She can adjust inventory records, sign off on discrepancies, approve write-offs. If anyone questions anything, she's the one who investigates it." "But why are you showing me this?" Carlos turned to face me, his expression grave. "Because yesterday morning, I overheard something that concerns you directly." He pulled up another video, this one from the parking garage entrance. 2 men were standing by a pillar, talking. Carlos turned up the audio, though it was scratchy. "The technician, Rachel? She's been asking questions," one man said. My blood went cold. "Walsh is worried she's noticed something. We need to handle it before she figures it out. Tonight. Her car. Make it look like an accident." The footage ended. I couldn't breathe. "Carlos, what are they talking about? I haven't asked any questions. I don't know anything." "I know you don't, but somehow they think you do. Maybe you saw something without realizing it. Maybe you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't know." He grabbed both my hands. "But Miss Rachel, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Do not drive your car home tonight." "What?" "I've been watching the garage all day. At 6 p.m., a man I don't recognize spent 15 minutes near your vehicle. I couldn't see exactly what he was doing because he positioned himself to avoid the cameras, but I know he was working on something underneath your car." "You think he tampered with my brakes?" "I think these people are willing to kill to protect whatever operation they're running, and I think your car is not safe to drive." I felt like I was going to be sick. This can't be happening. This has to be some kind of mistake. "It's not a mistake. I've been tracking this for 6 weeks now. Let me show you." Carlos opened a drawer in the security desk and pulled out a thick notebook, the kind detectives use. Inside were pages and pages of handwritten notes, dates, times, observations, photographs printed from the security footage, license plate numbers, names, everything meticulously documented. I'm a detective, Miss Rachel. Maybe I'm retired, but old habits die hard. When I noticed Dr. Walsh's pattern 6 weeks ago, I started investigating. She's not just stealing medications, she's running a full-scale operation. Those men she meets with? They're distributors. They sell the drugs on the black market to people without insurance, or people who need medications they can't afford legally. How much money are we talking about? Based on the inventory discrepancies I've tracked, I estimate somewhere between $5 and $8 million over the past 18 months. I felt dizzy. $8 million. There's more, Carlos continued. I cross-referenced the hospital's patient database with the medications that have gone missing. There's a pattern. Dr. Walsh has been filling fake prescriptions under the names of elderly patients who recently died. She creates the paperwork, processes the insurance claims, pockets the insurance money, and then sells the actual drugs through her distribution network. That's insurance fraud. Yes, ma'am. Federal insurance fraud. Medicare, Medicaid, private insurance. She's defrauding everyone. Carlos, we need to go to the police. Right now. He held up his hand. We will. But first you need to get somewhere safe, those men said tonight. That means they're planning to do something to you very soon. Maybe when you leave the hospital. Maybe when you get home. I don't know. But you cannot drive that car, and you cannot go to your apartment. Where am I supposed to go? I have a friend who runs a hotel on Commerce Street. The Majestic. I'll call him right now and set you up with a room. You go there tonight. Tomorrow morning, first thing, we go to the FBI field office downtown. This is federal crime, so we go straight to the feds. The FBI? Medicare fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy, attempted murder. This is way beyond Dallas PD, trust me. I sat there, shaking. My whole body felt cold. Why are you doing this, Carlos? Why risk yourself for me? He looked at me with those kind eyes. Because for 6 months, you've treated me like I matter. You brought me coffee. You talked to me. You saw me as a person, not just a uniform sitting at a desk. His voice grew softer. Teresa used to say that kindness creates ripples. You showed me kindness, Miss Rachel. Now I'm showing it back. That's how it works. Tears ran down my face. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We still have to get you out of here safely. He picked up his phone and made a call. After a brief conversation, he hung up. Okay, room 412 at the Majestic is ready. My friend Pete is expecting you. Now, here's what we're going to do. Leave through the emergency exit on the west side of the building. That exit doesn't have cameras that are monitored by anyone except me. I'll call you an Uber to pick you up there. Do not go to the main entrance. Do not go to the parking garage. Just go straight to the hotel and stay there until I call you in the morning. Understood? I nodded. Good. Now go. And Miss Rachel? Don't tell anyone where you are. Not your kids, not anyone. Just in case. I left through the west exit, my heart pounding with every step. The Uber arrived 10 minutes later. The driver was a nice older man who didn't ask questions, which I appreciated. The Majestic Hotel was a beautiful historic building downtown. Pete was waiting for me at the front desk, a gray-haired man with a warm smile who handed me a key card and said, Carlos told me to take care of you. Room 412. Anything you need, you just call down. The room was simple but clean. I sat on the edge of the bed and tried to process everything that had happened. Dr. Walsh, the woman I had worked beside for months, the woman everyone respected. She was a criminal, and she wanted me dead. I couldn't sleep. I lay in that hotel bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every interaction I had ever had with Dr. Walsh, trying to remember if I had seen something, said something, done something that would make her think I was a threat. But I couldn't think of anything. I was just the pharmacy technician who counted pills and tried to stay invisible. At 2:47 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello? Miss Foster? A woman's voice. Professional, clipped. This is Officer Kim with Dallas Police Department. I'm calling about your vehicle. My heart stopped. What about it? Your car was found at the bottom of the ravine off Highway 75 near Mockingbird Lane. The vehicle went over the guardrail sometime around midnight. We're trying to determine if anyone was in the vehicle at the time of the accident. Were you driving your car tonight, ma'am? I couldn't speak for a moment. No, I wasn't. Can you verify your current location? I'm at a hotel downtown. I see. Ma'am, our preliminary investigation suggests the vehicle's brake lines were severed. This wasn't an accident. This was deliberate. Is there anyone who would want to harm you? Yes, I whispered. Yes, there is. And I have evidence. Officer Kim took down my information and said a detective would contact me in the morning. After I hung up, I called Carlos. He answered immediately. Miss Rachel, are you okay? They cut my brakes. My car went off the highway. If I had been driving, but you weren't. You're safe. That's what matters. Carlos, they tried to kill me. They actually tried to kill me. I know. And that's why tomorrow we're going to make sure they pay for it. Try to get some sleep. I'll pick you up at 8 a.m. and we'll go to the FBI together. I didn't sleep. How could I? At 8 a.m. sharp, Carlos pulled up in front of the hotel in his old pickup truck. He was wearing civilian clothes, jeans, and a button-down shirt, but he carried a briefcase that looked official. This is everything, he said, patting the briefcase. 6 weeks of documentation. Video footage, photos, transaction records, inventory discrepancies, patient names, insurance claim numbers, everything. The FBI field office was downtown in a tall, modern building. We met with Special Agent Morrison, a no-nonsense woman in her 40s who listened to our story with increasing interest. Carlos laid out all his evidence on her desk. Mr. Rodriguez, you said you were a detective? Yes, ma'am. 35 years with Dallas PD, retired 2021. Agent Morrison smiled. You haven't lost your touch. This is solid work. She turned to me. Miss Foster, you're very lucky, mister. Rodriguez was paying attention. I know, I said quietly. Let me make some calls. If what you're telling me is accurate, we're looking at multiple federal charges. This will take some time to investigate properly, but based on what I'm seeing here, I think we have enough to bring Dr. Walsh in for questioning today. It all happened fast after that. The FBI launched a full investigation. They brought in forensic accountants, interviewed hospital staff, subpoenaed records. They brought Dr. Walsh in for questioning, and she lawyered up immediately, but the evidence was overwhelming. What they uncovered was even worse than Carlos had suspected. Dr. Walsh wasn't working alone. She had recruited 3 other people, a billing specialist named Jennifer Hayes, a pharmaceutical sales rep named Marcus Chen, and her own brother, a financial consultant named Derek Walsh, who had been laundering the money through fake shell companies. Together, they had been running the operation for over 2 years. They had stolen approximately $5.8 million worth of medications and defrauded insurance companies of an additional $3.2 million. They had filed fake prescriptions under the names of 47 deceased patients. And they had tried to murder me to cover it all up. The case against my car was conclusive. Derek Walsh had hired someone to cut my brake lines. The FBI traced the payment through his bank records. The hired man confessed and agreed to testify against all of them. The trial took place that summer. I had to testify, telling the jury about my routine, about Carlos, about the night he warned me. Carlos testified too, walking the jury through his investigation with the calm precision of a career detective. The prosecutors called him the hero security guard who solved the case. Dr. Amanda Walsh was found guilty on all charges. The judge sentenced her to 25 years in federal prison. Her brother Derek got 20 years. Jennifer Hayes got 12 years. Marcus Chen got 15 years. The man who cut my brakes got 8 years. Justice was served. But for me, the real story was what happened after. Carlos retired from his security job after the trial. He said he had done what Teresa would have wanted, helped someone who needed it. The hospital offered me a promotion to lead pharmacy technician, which I accepted. They also gave me a substantial raise and asked me to help implement new oversight procedures to prevent anything like this from happening again. But more importantly, Carlos and I stayed friends. Real friends. We have coffee every Sunday morning at a diner near his house. He volunteers now at a youth center, teaching kids about criminal justice and investigation techniques. He says it's his way of passing on what he learned in his career. 6 months after the trial, I helped Carlos organize his wife's belongings that he had been unable to touch since she died. We spent a whole weekend going through photos and memories. He cried. I cried with him. We were two broken people who had found healing through friendship. A year later, the FBI asked Carlos to consult on other cases. Turns out, hospitals across Texas have similar security camera systems, and Carlos's methodology of tracking patterns and building evidence became a model for investigating healthcare fraud. He gets paid for his consulting work, and he loves having purpose again. As for me, I'm 61 now. I still work at the hospital. I still have my tiny apartment in East Dallas. My daughter calls more often, and David visited for Thanksgiving last year. Life isn't perfect, but it's mine, and I'm grateful for it. People sometimes ask me what I learned from everything that happened. They expect me to talk about crime and corruption, about how you can't trust anyone, about how danger lurks everywhere. But that's not what I learned. What I learned is this. Small acts of kindness matter more than you can possibly imagine. Every single gesture, no matter how insignificant it seems. Every $2 cup of coffee. Every conversation. Every moment you choose to see another person's humanity instead of walking past them like they're invisible. Carlos Rodriguez was just a security guard sitting at a desk. I was just a lonely divorcee trying to survive. But because I stopped to talk to him, because I brought him coffee, because I treated him with dignity and respect, he noticed things other people missed. He paid attention, he investigated, and he saved my life. And together, we brought down a criminal organization that had stolen nearly $9 million and put 4 people in prison for decades. All because of a $2 cup of coffee and a few kind words. So that's my advice to you, whoever you are, wherever you are. Be kind. Stop for the person everyone else ignores. Take a moment to see the humanity in people who society has made invisible. The security guard, the janitor, the receptionist, the person serving your food, the person holding the door. Every single person you encounter is fighting battles you know nothing about. You never know what ripples you're creating. You never know whose life you might be saving, or whose life might save yours. It saved mine. Welcome to Twisted MNT Stories. I share real-life stories here every day, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Write in the comments which city you're watching from and what time it is. I'm so curious to know where all you wonderful people are tuning in from. And now 2 of my most popular stories will pop up on the screen so you can choose what to watch next.